So welcome back to the Better By Next Week podcast, where today me and Ollie explore what it means to make friends with pain. So we're going to essentially talk about what pain is, the spectrum of pain, and where you kind of fit in on that spectrum, whether you're just a beginner starting out and trying to understand how other people perceive pain and how people push through pain. And it's quite difficult because I remember when I first started, I was really looking at every single little signal my body was sending to me, and I was saying to myself, I need to stop. I need to stop. Around every corner, every couple of kilometers, I'll be saying to myself, well, this is painful. I need to stop. But today we want to explore how to kind of push through those pains and what it looks like, whether it's a adaptation to pain, whether it's an actual acute pain where you're getting an injury, whether you're in the pain cave, and how other people work through that pain to, push beyond what they thought was possible.
Well, pain's really cool because you can really, really push through past pain more than what your mind thinks it is. And essentially what pain is, it's like a signal that your body sends to the brain, and it's the brain sort of decides whether, how dangerous is this? And that's what happens when we're running, and this is hurting and everything, and we need to stop, is what the brain's telling you. But
do you think that's like a self-preservation thing?
Well, it is. I even have moments where it's like if you touch a fire, right? And it's like, oh, I get this sharp pain, right? But that's just the signal sending it to your brain. And your brain's like, oh no, that's really dangerous. Let's stop doing that. But I sometimes think, and I don't want to sound crazy or anything, but I'm like, what happens if I just hold my hand on the fire? Like, what happens? But it's because it's that signal that's telling you that there's something wrong, and then you have to take it away.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people, when people start running or exercising in general, they have that concept of pain. It's I'm touching the fire, it's hot, I better stop.
Yeah.
But I think with running, it's not that simple. There are times when, yes, you're touching the fire and it's too hot and you should stop.
There's a fine line between stopping and pushing through the fatigue and everything.
But I think it's also experience. I think as you experience pain more and more, you'll kind of come to understand that it's about making friends with that pain and understanding where it takes you. It might take you on a bit of more of a journey than what you thought. I often find during events that pain, it comes in waves, and I always know that I'll be peaking and I'm in so much pain and I need to stop. But through my experience from events that I've done, it always shifts. It's like you have this wave that kind of comes up and then it crashes, and then, there's no pain again. And then it comes up, and then you kind of drift up with a bit more pain, and then you come crashing down again.
I always, in a park run, and I'm at least maybe 300 meters ahead of you, and I just always have in the back of my mind, is he going to catch me? Not based of what you physically got in you, because I know that I'm probably a faster runner, but your grit. And I just think, he's going to see me, and he's going to push through the pain because of that experience and that experience that you've had from prior races. And I just think I always get scared.
Yeah, I often, in those situations, I kind of just dig deep. I think it's digging deep and knowing that if you know that pain is not the type of pain that you're looking for to stop, but you're kind of leaning into it, and through experience, knowing that you've leaned into this pain a few times, you can say to yourself, all right, this is another 10 seconds or another 20 seconds. And I often think, like, for the listeners, if anyone wants to kind of experience it and you're starting out and you're not quite sure, next time you go for a run, put in a bit of an effort, and as soon as it starts hurting, instead of stopping, push for an extra 10 seconds or an extra 20 seconds and just see how far you can push it. Obviously, don't push for another hour because you might hurt yourself, but just to experience what it feels like to push into that kind of pain cave. And you might actually find yourself in a place where you've not experienced pain before. And then when you finish, you can kind of reflect and say to yourself, well, hang on, I actually pushed further into that pain than what I thought I could.
Well, it links back to belief in a way, because I experienced a really incredible moment today when I was pacing one of my friends at parkrun, And he got to the 2.5K mark and just decided, nah, I can't do it. Stopped. And I was supposed to pace him to a sub 20, and we didn't end up getting there. But that's okay because he'll work towards it. But he stopped. And I'm like, no. And I was just like, no, Kyle. Like, you seriously got it. And he ended up running again. And it's like, where's that difference coming from you stopping and then taking another step, thinking that from that stop, you're like, no, I can't take another step, to going to take another step. And it's that hill example that you used with one of your, with the mates in
Yeah.
the previous episodes that we've done.
Yeah, and you've kind of, well, you showed a little bit of self-belief in your mate, and then he kept on going. But you know what he's going to end up doing now? He's going to say to himself, when I was in pain, and I thought that I didn't have any more and I had to stop, I kept on going. So that little bit of extra experience. So I think step by step, people can experience different parts of that pain and be able to push through it. But I often find, so there's all different types of pain. For me, when I look at pain, there's that training pain that you have. You'll be running and you've got a bit of fatigue and things like that. There's mental pain as well. And there's also an all body pain. And I often refer with the all body pain, for me, that's almost creeping into the pain cave. And we'll touch on the pain cave a bit. And I know that you love the pain cave and love talking about it, but it's a completely different feeling. So when you're training and when you're pushing, it's very, almost, that pain's almost very acute. So you can feel it, but you can kind of dial it back down and say, I've had enough, or you slow down or stop or whatever it may be. But during events, when you're pushing really, really deep, you tend to creep into that pain cave, and it's almost like an all body pain. And when you feel that, you almost don't know what to do with it, because it's not, essentially, it's not a pain in, say, in your knee or in your hip or something like that. It's a pain that encompasses everything. So it's a bit mental and it's a bit like the whole physical as well. But so you keep on pushing through that pain, and on the other side of it is what you actually want to achieve. So I often think that when you start, you have motivation and you're running, and that's fantastic because the race has just started or events just started. But then there comes a moment where you need to decide, is the pain worth it for the success or the outcome that you want? And that's the only thing standing in between you and success, is that little bit of pain in the middle.
I think that some people might get a little bit confused about when they're entering a pain cave or when they're not. And the first sign of pain, where it's, I might be a little bit sore in the knee, isn't that you entering the pain cave. It's that all body, like you said before, it's that all body feeling that it's like everything is telling you to quit. Like, it's not one little knee problem that's like, oh, maybe I should quit, just a little bit of an injury. It's everything. It's really hard to explain. It's really, you have to experience it on an individual level in a way, because it's different for everyone.
Yeah, oh, most definitely. But I sometimes look at it and it's like the journey to the pain cave. So the journey to the pain cave is a little bit of knee pain. And then
It adds up. It adds up.
That's right. And then, so the journey to the pain cave is my knee's a little bit sore. And then after about an hour or two, my hip's a little bit sore. Now, I'm speaking from experience here. And then the next thing that goes, my ankle might be a bit sore. And then my lower back might be a bit sore. And then my shoulders are a bit sore. And then what I find is that I've actually worked through all these little pains.
See, the thing is, but when you're working through all those little pains, you're at a mental low, and that mental low is the pain cave, right? But then you get to a point where you look back and reflect, and backyard ultras are perfect for this, because you look back and it's like, hold on, 5 loops ago I was feeling this pain, if not worse, and now I'm up again. So that's when you enter and then come out of the pain cave in a way.
Yeah.
But also, sorry, I think that it's that moment, like I mentioned before, how my friend Kyle, he stopped. Right, that moment onwards was the pain cave, because it's, you want to stop, everything's telling you stop, and when you finally stop, right, for 2 seconds you're out of it, but then I keep pushing, and then you're back into it. And I think that in training, you only experience that for a very little amount of time, whereas events is where it's, you truly are in the pain cave. So you can't you can't train in the pain cave as much as what you think you can.
Yeah,
But there are certain times where in training you maximum minutes in a way.
yeah, it's very hard to replicate.
Yeah.
Because when you're in an event, you often find yourself once you get in the pain cave, you might still have 60 kilometers to go.
Yeah.
So, and no one wants to stay in the pain cave for 60 Ks because it hurts. So essentially, there's only one thing to do, and that's let go of that pain. And I find in events that what I tend to do, and what I find a lot of people are doing, is that you're trying to make yourself comfortable. The whole time you're trying to make yourself feel comfortable. So you might change your shoes, and hopefully that helps your knees. You might try a different type of nutrition, and that might stop something. And then you might find that you change your stride pattern, and then you're in a little bit less pain. But essentially, at the end of the day, the only way past that pain is to just accept that you're in pain.
Or it's being comfortable with the uncomfortable. It's making friends with pain.
Yeah, making friends with pain.
Well, because that's what you always tell me. And I have had some experience in the past week where I almost try to normalize the pain in a way where, again, so on the bike, right, I'm pedaling and it's really burning in the quads. And I think I'm like, what is this feeling, right? Like, what is this? And it's so hard to explain because it's very on an individual level, but I just try to think, what is this feeling that I associate with uncomfort or pain? And I think I'm like, is it actually that bad? And then I almost trick my brain because that signal was sent out to the brain. It's like, oh no, this is danger. This isn't good. I almost trick my brain into thinking, no, this is normal. And I almost normalize it.
Yeah, well, that's all you can do. When you're actually in that pain and you want to push through it, you need to normalize it. And I often find at events or anything like that, the pain actually never gets worse. It's just how long are you able to tolerate that pain for? And that's where I think that's the difference between people who have, more success than others on a elite level or at a racing level. It's the person that can tolerate that pain for the longest. And those people that understand that their journey to success, the pain is a part of that success. So they accept that when they started, they said to themselves, okay, it's going to be good, but then it's going to be bad at points. But I accept that pain is the necessary evil that I have to overcome so that I can get the success that I want. And often you find it's like, what sacrifices are you willing to make to work through and get past that? Because if you're in a race and you're in pain, and we've talked about whys before and all that kind of stuff.
All these things add into it.
That's right. But if your why is not good enough, then the pain, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
If you've got a really strong why, then what you'll find is that the pain is tolerable. You'll say to yourself, well, I really want this success because I want to set a good example for my friends and my kids or whatever it may be. Or it might even be a financial why. If I win this race, I'm going to win $10,000. And you may say to yourself, well, this pain is worth it to get that. So I think the people that have the most success are the people that are able to justify the pain to themselves and continue going.
Well, essentially, pain. Your brain makes pain creates it as like a protective feeling, and I think back into an event where it's like, okay, my brain's trying to protect me, but why am I still going? Why is my brain actually in control? And we don't want to go all weird, but we sometimes think like the thinker behind the thought, right? Yeah. And that thought is the brain trying to tell you something. But why am I still going?
Yeah, well, your ambition. I often look at it.
Your why, your drive.
Yeah, so your drive and your ambition to want to continue and go harder and push through it all. So that's where resilience comes into it and all those things. Because if you think about it, you're in pain, your legs are sore, so your whole body is sending signals to your brain to say, stop, we've had enough. And then you're saying, no, my ambition, my will to continue, my want to succeed is stronger. And so you overcome that body pain. Now, obviously there's cases where you need to be careful because if, say for instance, if you're in pain and your form drops off and you start dragging your feet a little bit and you're starting to cause damage, you got to stop. It's silly. It's silly to continue. If you're
limping,
if you're doing a 100-kilometer race and you've got 5Ks to go and you're dragging your foot and your hips a bit sore and you can barely even run. Well, maybe keep going because you've only got 5Ks to go. But if you've got 50Ks to go, it's actually not worth the injury to do that to yourself.
Yeah, it's almost what do people value in a way.
That's right. And look, I'll give you an example. So a couple of years ago when I did Down Under, I was feeling pretty crappy with about 20 kilometers to go. But in a race that goes for 220 kilometers, 20 kilometers doesn't seem like that much further to go. And I had plenty of time to get in under cutoff. But my whole body was so sore. It was stinging. It was a pain I'd never felt before. And I'd been to the pain cave before and I'd pushed through a hell of a lot. But I was saying to myself, this is not right. Something's off here. And I was going to call your mum to come pick me up. But I thought, no, I've got 20 Ks to go. I'll make it through. Anyway, I ended up finishing. And when I finished, I pretty much collapsed over the finish line and I was laying there and everyone else who had finished, they were up and about, chatting, having a good time. And I'm just laying there on the ground, like asleep. And I thought, oh, it's just sleep deprivation. And so I got home that night and my body was still stinging. It was like I couldn't flush any of the lactic acid in my legs. Everything hurt. And I ended up going to the doctors. I got some blood tests done. And I took those blood tests to my naturopath and he was really, really good about it. And he pretty much said to me that, well, my doctor said that they weren't sure what to do, but the naturopath said that your liver enzyme tests have come back like horrific. They were terrible.
And
how bad it was.
That's why you do not look at that and go, let's mimic him.
Yeah, so that was a terrible example of pushing through pain. If
your health is at risk,
it's not worth it. So I spent a week unable to flush any of the waste product that your muscles create and any of that because I'd pushed too far. And that was the one thing that, speaking with the naturopath, he said to me, you know what, Tim, at least now you can bookend where pushing too much, what can happen. So
you're going to know yourself.
That's right.
It's almost trying to find your identity with pain and making friends with it.
Yeah, I tried to make too much friends with pain on that on that day, and I promised myself I'd never get myself to that state again. But it's actually good to know that is for me when I look at the spectrum of pain, that is that bookended how much pain I can tolerate, and that was too much. So that is probably if you're feeling like an all body pain that's stinging and you actually can't keep going. Like we've got footage. Actually, we'll put up the footage of me coming down
the hill.
Yeah, it's me coming down the hill at the end. I think there was about a kilometer to go. It was completely flat, and apart from this one little bit on the video,
it was a little bit rocky.
Yeah, a little bit rocky, but I actually couldn't even walk. So
Dad's a really good dad when he goes, "Ollie, stop recording. You might trip over."
Yeah, that's
when
right.
when he's
I was absolutely cooked. So and then that just showed me that was trying to push too far into that pain zone.
Now this is probably easy to say when you're not in pain and you're just sitting here in a podcast studio, but I remember saying to you at Satellite Champs last year, and I remember, and I thought I was helping at the time. I'm like, Dad, this pain is not you, right? Like what you were feeling is not this pain. Like you're the thinker behind the thought. This is not you. That you have your body, you have your mind,
and you have yourself.
And you have your soul. Well, self and soul. And you were like, you joking me? Like, do
This
you
is
know
not-
what? Yeah,
This
do
is
you
not the
know what I
time.
feel?
This is not the time for your
I'm
philosophical
like,
stuff.
oh gosh, and yeah, it was really funny because there are points where you believe that it's like you associate yourself with pain. This is what I am. Like I am in pain right now,
Yeah.
and it really isn't.
I guess, like I'd like to mention though, like for beginners starting out, it is okay. It is normal for you to experience pain because you don't have that spectrum of that we discussed that this is the as bad as it can get, and when you first take the first couple steps, there's no pain. So it's
Yeah, because
important.
you might think like a knee problem is the end of the world.
Yeah, that's right. And I used to. I think I've mentioned on an earlier podcast that I would go out for a run and I would record it on my Runkeeper app. Left knee sore, 6 out of 10. This sore here and there, and a lot of those things, as long as they're not really affecting your form too much, it's your body adapting to what you're putting through it. That's where strength work can come into it. That can help, but if you can understand that there's a lot of adaptations that are happening and they can be mimicked as pain, you can kind of push through things a little bit better.
And that's why it's so great what you said about before about advice for beginners is that when you feel a little bit of hurt, push a little bit more when you think that you can't, because it gives that person that perception of, oh, actually, is this as bad as what I think it is? And that it gives them another level. It's like, oh, there's a whole nother level to this pain.
Yeah, it's very hard to distinguish between those levels until you experience them each one step at a time. So you first start out, you're going to get those little niggles. You're going to get a bit of a sore hip, a little bit of a sore knee. You might push a little bit further, and if it gets worse, then obviously back off and maybe go and see a specialist, maybe go see a soft tissue therapist, because all those pains, they are actually happening. You're not weak. People think, oh, I'm weak because I can't push through pain. And the Goggins approach is not always the best approach, because you do need to listen to your body. I'm in pain. I need to stop. But if it's not affecting your form, or anything like that, you can, like I said earlier, it might push for an extra 10 seconds or an extra 20 seconds and just see where you can take it.
Because I think it's so silly that, and I used to have the same idea that if I'm not feeling pain, I'm not working hard enough or I'm not making gains. But that's not the case. Pain is just, again, it's that protective feeling where it doesn't necessarily mean you're making improvement. It actually could mean you're not making improvements and you're decreasing performance because you're hurting yourself.
Yeah, that's right. I kind of want to shift on where, with pain and how success comes after a bit of pain, or I often even like a little bit of happiness can come after pain as well. How often do you go out for a run and you feel great, and then you're kind of pushing into your session and you're in more pain and you're in more pain, and then you sprint. I often find people like your sister and your mum, I always see them sprint at the end of runs.
Well, everyone does that. I'm like, sprint.
And they go hard, and then when they stop, they just feel amazing. And I remember this one time where you and your sister, I wanted to show you how a little bit of pain and suffering can make you a little bit happier. And because you guys wouldn't believe me, so
I got a great story.
I got you and your sister to jump up on the monkey bars. Oh, first what I did, I said, so out of 10, how happy are you right now? And I think you and your sister said about 6 out of 10. And I'm like, oh, fantastic. So then I said, all right, jump up on the monkey bars, and you were facing each other. Jump up on the monkey bars. And then after about 4 or 5 seconds, I said, drop. And then you both drop down. I go, now how happy are you? And you're like, same, 6 out of 10. And then I'm like, all right, jump back up on the monkey bars. And then I said to you, now don't let go of the monkey bars until the other one lets go. So then you're like in competition with each other and you're struggling and you're up there for about a minute and a half. And I could just see you grimacing on the face. And then I think your sister might have dropped. And then 2 seconds later you dropped. And I'm like, now how happy are you? And you're like, 9 out of 10. And I'm like, well, there you go. A little bit of extra pain. And then how much happiness kind of come from that.
Also combined with competition, because that really helps with someone. It almost fuels their ego in a way. I think ego has a lot to plays a big role in pain, and how that might, like, how someone with maybe a bigger ego can maybe not so much benefit from pain, but benefit from pain in a way.
But you can almost suck up that pain too. So you think about how often you go to, say, a park run or a race or something like that, and you're kind of going toe to toe with someone, or even in training sessions, me and you will be going toe to toe, and you're kind of pushing and you're pushing, and you almost suck up that pain. I remember a few weeks ago we went to park run and we said to each other, "All right, this last kilometre we'll go as hard as we can." And there is no way in training that I would have pushed that hard to get to into the pain cave to finish.
Yeah.
And next minute I'm finding myself, I'm running, oh my God, I haven't run this fast in 10 years.
Yeah.
And you're right next to me and you're thinking, oh, I didn't realize Dad had that in him.
I was huffing and puffing more than you.
Yeah, and we're kind of going toe to toe, and then we finish, and then we both look at each other and we're just both wrapped.
So why is it that that so many people think, oh, pain, it's awful, it's the worst thing ever, but something like that after, it makes you the happiest man on
because you
earth.
get a little bit of satisfaction out of it, and I think it's the result. I think it's the result that you're chasing. But what you don't realize is that to get that result, sometimes you got to go through a little bit of pain, which it does suck and it hurts in the moment. But the longer you stay in it, I almost feel the longer that you stay in it, just like that monkey bars example, the longer you stay in it, the more satisfied you are at the end of it. Now, obviously, I wouldn't say for someone that's kind of starting out doing 1 or 2Ks, I wouldn't recommend you go and run 160 kilometers just to see how happy you can be at the end, because it's not about that, because it's all individual. Each individual has a different pain tolerance, and they can push further into those limits, I suppose.
I want to ask you a question. Do you think shared pain has an impact on, like, say, for instance, when we were sprinting at the end, do you think it has a really different impact on how much more you can push because you're looking at the other person?
I don't know. Maybe there's like a shared energy that you're kind of sharing.
We talk about energy a lot.
So it's almost like a shared energy that we were both kind of feeling it, and we were almost. I don't know. You mentioned ego a second ago. It was almost that as well. I was almost thinking, I'm going to push harder because you're my son, and I want to kind of lead, and I want to show you how far we can push into it. And you're maybe going, oh, he's my dad. I reckon I'm meant to be better than him. I'm crushing. I'm the faster Caprazak. And we're both kind of going toe to toe, and that pain is almost forgotten.
So find yourself a friend and push with each other.
Yeah, that's right. And I think I see a lot of people doing track sessions as well, whether it be on Strava
as well.
Yeah, with other people, and they're crushing these training sessions. And you're right, like it's really hard to get motivated on your own and push into those real tough pain areas, because you've got no one there to kind of bounce off. Because I often find. So I'll give you an example. I remember doing this event called Unbreakable, where myself, Chris Norris, Tom Dade, and Ben Nichols, it was the first time I'd met these guys. And it was about, we had to find books in the Marysville State Forest, and I was in a hell of a lot of pain at the time. But I actually didn't want to, I even didn't want to leave them either, because I didn't want to get lost. So I was willing to sacrifice the pain just to keep up, because I was having a real mental low, and I'm like, oh, I really don't want to leave these guys. I'm in pain. I'm gonna just have to suck up this pain, and you do it. You'll even suck up the pain to keep going. So it's a good tactic for pushing through the pain. And when I'm not talking about, my leg was sore or my this, it was just that pain cave feeling. I was thinking I can go further into the pain cave as long as I stick with these guys.
Okay, so we've mentioned pain cave a lot. Now I think we should really describe what it is and what you're kind of doing there. And the main important note that I might share is that don't avoid it. You can't avoid pain. If you've lost already if you try to avoid pain, because it's inevitable that it's going to happen. And if you try to avoid it, then you might not even be able to get into the pain cave and pull out early. But what the pain cave essentially is that you're in this dark place. Everything hurts. You want to quit, and a lot of doubts are happening. And no matter what, you just keep pushing through that. And you picture yourself in this dark cave, right? And you got a pickaxe, and you're just digging, and getting deeper. And by you getting deeper, you're knowing more about yourself. Or uh, you're improving, but you can also see areas where you need improvement because you might be like, oh, I lack in this, and you might go back into the training board or drawing board and try to improve that. But the pain cave is different for everyone because you can decorate your pain cave. But I guess like, do you have the same idea around the pain cave or?
Yeah, I like how you're talking about how you kind of dig further into it, because often when I'm deep in the pain cave, I'll look at myself and think, why didn't I do more strength work? Why didn't I do more of this? Why didn't I do more of that? But also being stubborn really, really helps in the pain cave, because often you might find people will quit, or they've had enough because they're not stubborn enough. If you're stubborn and you're super accountable, and I think that's what makes some of these ultra athletes so good, because they're stubborn and their willingness to push as far as they can into that pain cave. And you know what I love the most after an event, when I've been deep in the pain cave and I've been pushing hard and all that? I love training, because everything seems so much easier, because that pain cave feeling, there's nothing like it in the world. No training pain can even compare to it. The only times that I'll ever feel a similar pain is if I've been running for 4 or 5 hours. It's a big training run, and right towards the end, maybe the last half hour or 45 minutes, I might be feeling it. So I'll go out after doing an event and being in that pain cave for ages. I'll go out and I'll crush a 10K run, and I'll be in pain, but I'll be saying to myself, "This is not pain. This is nothing. This is nothing," because it's so fresh in your mind as well. Because you think about how often you finish a race and you say to yourself, "I'm never doing that again. I am never ever going back there again." And it's the pain that you don't want to go back to, but it's the one and only pain that you forget. You completely forget. Now the training pain that you get, you'll go, "Oh yeah, I know what that feels like," and you could describe it. It's really easy to describe, and like you said as well, it's so hard to describe that pain cave feeling, but it's just an all body pain, and yeah, it's just so hard.
It's a really special moment for a person, and I
Because
thought
you
just
discover so much about yourself there too.
exactly
It's like, well, look
'cause
at what I
it's
endured.
just you. That's you, and you look back and you look up from where you've dug from. It's like, I made all that progress.
I actually get really emotional towards the end of races.
Yeah.
I remember one time I did this event called Two Bays, and it's like 56 Ks, I think. And the last 5 Ks of that race, if you have a look at an elevation map, it's almost flat as a pancake. It's easy as, but it's so hard because it's in summer, and you're finishing around midday, and it's hot, and you're struggling a bit, and there are a couple little stairs here and there. And I remember finishing one time, and I got like a tear in my eye, and it was like I was so proud of myself for working myself through all that pain and everything that I endured. And I was kind of, looking at myself and going, you know what, good on you. Good on you for getting through that. But it's because I was so proud of myself, because I got through all that pain.
I've been experimenting with a new method of when I'm in the pain cave or just hurting in general. And I used to go to myself, I just used to get really angry at myself. I'm like, why am I doing this? I hate this. And those are the thoughts you don't want, especially when you're trying to push, because you're going to start coming back. It's that protective feeling telling you to stop. It's dangerous. But now I've actually just started to laugh. I've started to laugh at myself. I'm like, oh gosh, this is stupid. But then it actually makes me feel better. And it comes back to why I think that the smile is so important, because that new feeling that you're getting is pushing you forward, but it almost brings you out of that pain cave, because yeah, it's very interesting, because you want to be in the pain cave in a way, and because the pain cave is all about exploring it.
But that's why you signed up. It's funny. It's when you're in that
It's
pain
like,
cave.
why do we pay so much money to?
Yeah, why do I pay so much money to do this event? And often people think, I paid this money, I'm in the event, and you think that you're going to have fun, and then you're going to have success, and you always forget that the bit in the middle is what you actually paid for. The struggle, and remember when you were talking about where all the growth happens. Well, that's what you're paying for. You're paying for that growth. But with that growth comes that pain that
Yeah,
you
although
feel.
in that moment you might not want that growth. In the grand scheme of things, you want that growth.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and because when you reflect, you say to yourself, "That's the best bit.
Yeah.
That's the best bit that I signed up for."
What I often find that's overlooked as well when you're in the pain cave is that you, you need to stay in the present moment. And what Ihor Veras told me at one of my events, and he sent through a lovely message when I was really hurting and I was a bit emotional. And he told me to focus on the next kilometer, right? And only focus on that kilometer. But sometimes I even shorten it. It's like, just get through the next 500 meters. And that really, again, it's like you want to be in the pain cave, but you don't want to be at the same time because you still want to explore. But it really helps you be more positive and decorate that pain cave in a way.
Yeah, and Ehor is a perfect example of someone that's gone deep in the pain cave. A guy who's finished a Barkley marathons, ran 107 yards at a backyard ultra, so he kind of knows what he's
Super
talking
experienced.
about. And you're right, you've got to be present in the moment, and other tactics that I think that a lot of people can use to help them get through pain in events is run with someone.
Yes.
Run with someone, have a chat to them. How often do you find that you'll be running in an event or we'll be going on a training run, and we'll start a really cool conversation, and we're talking about this and we're talking about that, and then next minute 10, 20, 30 minutes has gone by, and before that you were in pain.
It's like
and then half an hour, there's no pain. And then again, you're like, oh, hang on, that's right. I am in a little bit more pain. What happened there? So it's almost distracting yourself. But at the same time, when you're sitting there having a chat to someone, or running there, sorry, and you're having that chat with that person, you're actually in the present moment. You're having a conversation in the present moment. So staying present helps you work through that pain. It almost switches off the part of the brain that's thinking, hang on, remember me? You've got a sore toe. Oh, remember me? Your toenail's falling off, or whatever it may be.
It's a really good way to think of it, because it's almost like comes back to that shared pain, and you're both really sore, you're kind of low, but you pick each other back up, and by having a conversation, this person's part of the brain that's telling them, oh no, the signals, these are really bad, and the other person's signals are really bad, are both distracted, which gets them through that hole.
And often you'll find, this is probably a good tip for a lot of people, whether it be backyard ultras. Backyard ultras is a lot easier, and I know we often talk about backyard ultras, but it's a lot easier because you're running with a group of people a lot of the time. But if you do find yourself in an ultra marathon, or even at a marathon, and you're running with a few people, the more people that are around, the better it is. The more you almost get sucked into everyone's energy. So it's unlikely that you'll get 5 people and all 5 of them are feeling crappy at the same time. So you might
share the energy.
Yeah, so you might 2 of you might be struggling, and like, oh, I'm struggling, I'm in a bit of pain, but the other 3 are picking you up. They're saying, no, you've got this, keep on going. And then next minute, 10 minutes down the track, those 2 people that were struggling are picked up, and then the other one, someone else is. So then you kind of keep on going, and
it goes down the line. It's like a chain reaction.
Yeah,
and this has been shown in the new 2XU documentary at Deckhouse Gully. It was based around Harvey Lewis, and everyone says, oh, let's get on the Harvey bus, and there's a bunch of people that go, and he does his little, I actually don't know the strategy. It's like 2, 3 maybe.
Yeah, so he's got like a run walk strategy.
Yeah, and everyone follows, and it actually seems like everyone in that group comes from a place of hurt and pain cave, and they come here and it's like, oh, Harvey bus, let's go.
It's like a party bus.
Yeah, it's a party bus.
To
Harvey's
take away the pain.
bus.
Yeah, Harvey's party bus that he takes away the pain.
I want to get into a little bit of some workouts that might be able to help you experience that pain cave a little bit more.
Yeah, go for it.
Because sometimes it's really overwhelming in an event. It's like, oh gosh, I'm here, what do I do, and everything. But you can actually experience that for short periods of time in training. And so I have intervals as a really good one, because, and although intervals are really short, there is that split moment where it is really bad, right? But it almost teaches you that pain's only temporary, because you have a short interval and then you recover, right? But that short interval builds, builds, pain, and then it drops.
Yeah.
So it teaches that brain to, okay, this isn't temporary, it's going to end. You also have, did you want to add something?
Yeah. So that's really good for beginners as well. So we often find that, someone that's not running at all, they'll get out the front door, put their sneakers on, and they'll go for a 1 or 2K run, and they're in pain the whole time. And it's like, I don't even want to do it. I'm in pain. But if you actually give yourself a little bit of a break, like you just spoke about with the intervals, so someone starting out, you've always got walking.
Yeah,
and you've always got stopping as well.
Yeah, well, intervals are completely. They don't. When I talk about intervals, it doesn't mean you do 2:30 pace and then I'm going to drop to 5 minutes, because some people's intervals are 5-minute pace, and then the rest pace is walking.
Yeah,
and that's completely okay.
So someone that's starting out, I would suggest go for a run, walk, and then start by walking. Start running. Okay, that's kind of like your interval. That's a bit hard, and then stop, and then have a rest, catch your breath, start walking again. That's it. So you can do. So that's for a beginner, but for someone that's a little bit more advanced.
Well, pain is so subjective. So find your interval pace and your rest pace, because then you can work off that.
And you just got to be accountable.
Yeah.
You just got to say to yourself,
it's like, am I pushing a little bit too much, or am I not pushing enough? Be accountable to yourself.
So you can kind of explore what that pain kind of looks like. It doesn't necessarily need to be, I'm David Goggins, I'm going to crush myself, and then you get home and you sleep the rest of the day and you can't walk the next day.
Yeah, no.
That's pushing a little bit too far.
Next, I had hills, right? And I wanted to reflect on an experience I had this week, and it was really incredible. And it wasn't a very hard workout that you given me. It was only 3 repeats up this hill, and it's a local hill we have that's about 1K, 100 meters gain. And it was just 3 hard efforts up, and I got to the second one, and I'm like, my legs are done. Like, I genuinely thought I just can't do it. And I gave you a call. I'm like, Dad, I'm only gonna do 2 today. Like, I'm fine with that. It's okay. And you said some words, and then
what words did I say?
You know what you got to do. Is what you said. Is what you said. But
so I didn't say you have to go and do it. I just said, you know what you got to do.
Yeah.
But what did that just prompted your accountability.
You're in my mind. I was like, because I was literally, my next sentence was, you prompted me into thinking of my, because I watched a reel on Instagram, and it was about the second person talking to yourself, right? And what that means to you. And that's not, it's using words like, you got this, or
you're crushing
it. So it's you're using you, not I believe that I'm going to do this, or I can get through this. And although that might work, it's very hard because it relates back to your ego. And when you're hurting, it's like, oh, I can't do this. So what you're doing by having that second person point of view, you're almost stimulating your brain to thinking it's an external factor telling you to do something. So it's like a coach. So you're almost coaching yourself by this second point of I get confused. It's
like a third person.
Yeah, third person, second person. And what I did.
So you got a whole cheer squad, have you?
Yeah, in a way, a whole cheer squad in my brain. This is the greatest coach ever. Yeah. And I found it. I've found in previous runs, I struggled with the idea of actually making myself believe. Like I just, that whole concept in believing and pushing through pain, I find it really hard. But I had this super surreal moment where what I did, gosh, my watch is tight. Flipped the watch around, didn't look at it the whole way. And what you told me is like, just have one hard effort. And from those positive second person talking, so you got this, I just went up real hard, and I didn't look at the watch. I'm just hard. And where's the difference coming from, again, with what my friend stopped, and where's that difference with him running again? Where is that difference in the thought of me going, I can't do another repeat, to me actually running faster than the previous repeat I thought I couldn't do anymore?
Well, it comes down to accountability. It comes down to accountability and saying to yourself, I can do more than what I'm capable of. And it's also exploring that as well. It's exploring what would happen. What's the worst thing that can happen? Like, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen if you gave it everything that you've got? You're going to stop halfway up the hill. That's it. Nothing worse is going to happen. You often you think about all the things that you've done in life to this point. You've survived. So why would you not survive this next thing?
Well, I take that into my whole into schooling, where I had a really stressful week of school one week, and it's like I've done this before. So what makes a difference? I can't do it now, and it's like I've had a lot. I had like 4 sacks in a week, which is just a test, and I was really stressed about it. I'm like, why actually can't I do this? I've done this before. But going back to that hill, and that I almost, by turning my watch around, and I almost just shut out everything, and I just went, nah, we are running up this hill. And I wanted to ask you, and this
But
links
can I just finish on that one last
yeah.
little thing? Do you know what you actually did in that moment? So it sounds like you're not 100% sure what happened, right?
I
So
let go.
yeah, one, you let go, but you went from thinking about doing the thing
To doing it.
to doing the thing.
You know what you got.
You know what you got to do, and that's what I said to you. I go, you know what you got to do, and what are you doing? You're taking action in that moment instead of worrying about it. So you called me and you said, "Oh, Dad, I don't think I can do it. I don't." So instead of calling me, like, it was great. You called me, and I just said, "You know what you got to do," but think about what you did. So the only thing that you changed in that moment was you just took action. So I guess even for our listeners, like, if you're struggling with a training session, and now doesn't have to necessarily be about pain or anything like that. It could be a lack of motivation. It can be not wanting to do something, thinking that you don't have enough time. Just take action. Just take action. And once you're doing the thing, how good did you feel once you were doing it and you almost finished?
I felt better.
You felt better and you were in the moment as well. You found yourself by taking action. You found yourself in the moment,
present moment,
and then you were crushing it. So there was nothing else to worry about because you were actually doing it. I often find, like, for me, I often find this a really funny concept where I'm getting ready for a race. So, for instance, I've got a race coming up, and I'm packing, and I'm getting this ready, and I'm getting that ready, and I've got everything ready, and I'm just stressed, and I'm worried, and you know what you're stressed and worried about? Because you've done everything that you can, and now you've just got to wait for the moment to come so you can take the action. So that's where sometimes the stress and anxiety for a race and the nerves come into it, because you actually can't do the thing that you're preparing for because the moment hasn't arrived yet. So in those times, you've just got to say to yourself, right, I've done everything I can. Now I just wait.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'll go back to before because I want to ask you a question. But I actually want to answer my own question first before you answer. I thought of a really cool concept. And my question was, what is that? And I'm talking about the example of the hill, but what does that say about pain? And I'll answer it. And is it?
Yeah, you're funny.
It doesn't sound right now. Well, maybe you might have to edit it or something.
No, you're all right. You're all right. Go answer your own question.
I'll answer my own question. And it's almost like it isn't the pain that's stopping you. It's your mind that's making that limit. And I just think that it takes. Maybe you answer the question. What is it? What does that say about pain?
What does it say about pain? Well, I'll tell you what it says about pain, and this is how I look at it. So, for me, it's like there's like a train track in your brain, all right? And every time you stop, then your brain thinks that there's an obstacle on that train track. But if you are able to push past it, then what you do, you open up almost a new pathway to get past that. So next time you experience pain in that certain way, right, you keep on going, and then you keep on going, and what you realize is that there is no limit, and then you're able to get past all these limits that you put on yourself. So how often do you think, you get yourself to a point and you say, I can't go anymore, and then you quit. I can't go anymore, and then you quit. And well, what's the difference between the guy that quits and the guy that doesn't quit? Well, the guy that doesn't quit is the guy that's actually realized that barrier is just something that you break through.
I thought of a response to my question, and I think that it's almost like your brain it tricks you. It tricks you into thinking that pain is the bad guy, but realistically, it's almost your brain is the bad guy, and your brain is the limiter, because, like I said, it's like why is it that when I ran up on that second repeat, I thought, nah, it's the pain. I can't handle the pain. I can't. That's what you often say. I can't handle the pain, right? But it's not you that can't handle the pain. It's your brain that can't handle the pain. And once I let go of everything on the third repeat, I went, nah, I'm just gonna push as hard as I can. That was my true self talking, and I pushed up it.
Yeah, but you've also got to realize that your body's sending these signals to your brain.
There's a point it gets to.
And it's saying, stop, I've had enough. So you do have to obviously listen to a certain... Yeah, but you weren't... It's not like you were hurting yourself.
It wasn't an injury.
Yes.
It was me having a sook. It was my brain having a sook.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. So we have a little bit of a cool little segment. What were
you have a cool little segment.
I have a cool segment that I invented and brought by Dad. And I'm going to ask Dad 3 questions, and he's going to answer them as truthfully as possible. Okay. And they're going to be deep, and he has no idea what these questions are, I would hope.
Yep.
Unless he's looked at my notes, but I don't believe so. I'll read them off my laptop.
Yep.
So, and this is all about the philosophy around pain.
Yep.
Why do runners voluntarily chase pain? It comes back to that. Like, why do we pay these great amounts of money to experience pain?
I think that we chase pain because, I chase pain because I don't necessarily chase pain. I chase success, and I know that pain is the necessary evil to that success. I often look at pain in one way. I think a lot of people have 2 lists when they think of things. They have a pros list and a cons list. So the pros list might be success for the event, and people might think that I've done really well, and you get some kudos and stuff like that. And then the other list is saying, pain, I better stop. Things are getting uncomfortable, I better stop. It's taking too long, I better... For me, I often look at the chasing of pain, all kind of goes into one list. And you start, and you have success, and everything in between is that list that you follow to success. And pain is just one part of it. So it's not that I necessarily chase pain. It's just that I want the success, and I understand that to get that success, I need to go through all these things. But it's only one list. I never have a cons list and say to myself, there's too many bad things going on, I'm going to stop. So I never stop. And I think that that's probably why I dig pretty deep at events as well, because I just know that if I continue going, that the success will come.
So to put things into perspective, it's almost like a journey, right? So you don't necessarily chase that feeling of pain. It's more so the feeling afterwards. And then we talk about it's $1 million feeling that if we had to give it would be worth millions.
Yeah,
right?
It's the cost.
But you acknowledge that pain is part of that process to get to that feeling. So you don't chase pain. You just acknowledge that it's there to get to that feeling. And that feeling is what you're chasing.
Yeah, it's part of that journey. And I understand that there is no shortcut. There is no shortcut to success, and that pain is part of that journey.
That's a really good response.
Oh,
right on the spot too.
Yeah.
All right, next question.
All right, let's go.
Does pain make running more meaningful?
Yes, 100%. Do
you care to elaborate?
Yeah, because I think that I don't know the science behind it, but I know the harder I push and the harder I struggle, the almost the bigger dopamine hit that I get at the end of it, because I know that I'm getting those gains because I'm pushing harder. And the only example that I can give is aside from a recovery run, and I understand that sometimes you need to recover from a hard session, but if I had the choice to go for an easy run or a hard run, I would I would choose the easy run because it doesn't hurt as much, but I would choose the hard run because I know I'm going to get more satisfaction out of it because I feel like I'm making gains, a lot more gains faster by doing that. But that is also a double-edged sword because often people find themselves every time they go out, they feel that they need to run harder so that they get more gains quicker. But the smart athlete understands limits. So, for instance, I'll have a really hard hilly session, and then the next day I'll have a really easy run. But that is more to kind of complement my training. So I think that yeah, I often think that pain is necessary for feeling awesome, but you've also got to be smart about it.
But it's also those easy runs make that feeling of pain greater
Yeah,
because you
yeah,
get
they
that
do.
perception.
Yeah, well, that's right. You have a spectrum. You have that. I'm always talking about things as people often look at things as either on or off. You're either in pain or not in pain. But there are grey areas in a lot of things in life in general as well. So it's the further I push out in that real painful direction. When I go and do something easier, even in life, like you got to fix a fence, or you've got to you got a problem at work. A lot of those things are really, really easy because if you ask me why, I could turn around and go, because I ran 100 Ks on the weekend, or, I pushed really hard at parkrun. So everything else becomes a lot easier.
Well, to the audience, what is one great lesson that you've learned from pushing through pain?
That's a tricky one. Because there's so many lessons I've learned.
The one greatest thing that you would apply to everything.
Yeah, well, I suppose in a very similar way to what I just said, the further you push into the uncomfortable, the greater your life becomes. Because if you, for instance, wake up early in the morning and go and crush your run, I guarantee you that you will not have a bad day because you've done the hardest part of your day first, and then the rest of your day seems pretty easy. So go out and put your sneakers on, go out for a hard run, whatever it may be, whether you're a beginner and it's 1 or 2 Ks, or you're an elite athlete and goes out and does a marathon before breakfast. Go and do that right at the start of the day, and what you'll find is that the rest of the day becomes a hell of a lot easier.
So one last question. Why are you an ultra runner, not a philosopher?
Well, it's funny you say that. Guy this morning in parkrun, I'd never run with him before, and we were just talking about running and things like that, and he goes, "Oh, what do you do for work?" And I said, "Oh, I'm a Sparky." And
philosopher.
And he goes, "Oh, you should be a philosopher." He goes, "Do you know who Carl Jung is?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know who Carl Jung is." But you know me, like a lot of my conversations are like deep thinking conversations, and I take a lot of what I learn from running into life, and I think that's really important, and I think a lot of people can do that. Going through that pain kind of gives you an understanding of how it's not always going to be painful, especially in races. You kind of ebbs and flows. Like you go into an event, and how many times I've started a run and I felt like crap at 40 Ks in, and then I feel amazing at 100 Ks. So it's like anything in life. Running is a beautiful way to explore what it is that you're capable of, and that's why I guess I do it. And pain is all a part of that.
Well, running as a metaphor for life.
Yeah, that's right.
You want to bring this one across the finish line?
Yeah, let's bring this one across the finish. That was pretty deep. I think we were pretty deep into pain.
I was pretty nervous for that episode, but I just think
Yeah.
a lot of these deep episodes, I feel,
I think they're
we
important.
get stuck, but they're really important.
I think that they're important, and I think it's good to share with the listeners what we think about certain things and what we experience ourselves. Because a lot of people, it's like when people say there's no silly question. It's the same with this. What we're trying to do with the podcast is that give people an understanding of we actually go through these things too, and often people don't talk about these things. So to know that everyone's kind of going through these whether it be pain or whatever it is in training and in life in general, that we're all doing the same thing, and it's nice to bounce things off each other. So. All right, so what do you reckon we get into our Better by Next Week challenges for the week?
That's a great idea. I'll start first.
Yeah, you go first.
So as I mentioned before about the second person talking, I want my Better by Next Week challenge for you this week is to do more second person talking during training runs instead of first person talking. And that looks like you got this. You're going to crush this session. And what happens there is it makes it seem like an external factor's talking to you, whereas first person talking is, I'm going to do this. I'm going to crush this. I'm going to run up that hill as hard as I can. But when you're in pain, that I switches to, I can't do this. Whereas that you is more likely to be looked at as a coach. A coach is telling you, you got this. You're going to crush this.
I like that. I like that. And I reckon I've got a heap of hill training coming up. So there's going to be
a lot of use.
There's going to be a lot of views there. All right, that's cool. So, well, my Better by Next Week challenge is something that I do every night, and some people might have heard me, friends and that might have heard me speak about it before, but my Better by Next Week challenge is all about showing gratitude. So a bit of gratitude for yourself before bed. So what it is before you go to bed, reflect back on your day and be grateful for the day that you've had. So you might say to yourself, thanks to my body for crushing the training session today. Thanks for my mind for, being real positive and having good self-talk and all that kind of stuff. And you do it just before bed, and then you fall to sleep. What I've found, it's worked really well for me when I've raced in backyard ultras, because I end up teaching myself to, when I come in after a lap, I'll lay down, and if I can't fall asleep, I'll say to myself, that was a great lap, awesome body, you did really well. Or I'll just say, oh, mind, you switched on, we're killing it. And then next minute, I've fallen asleep.
It's like a signal that it's okay, it's time to fall asleep.
Yeah.
It's like what Phil said, he practices putting his headphones in. It's like, okay, now it's time to sleep, teaching the brain.
That's right. So the challenge is to reflect on your day and be grateful for the day that you've had. And you know what? If you've had a crappy day, what I want you to do is say to yourself, you know what? Today mightn't have been as good a day. Maybe I got cranky. Maybe I didn't crush my session, but it's okay because tomorrow's going to be better. So I want you to kind of, practice that gratitude and do it right before bed. And it kind of teaches you to, practice that being grateful and then just falling asleep. So what do you reckon?
I think that's a really good challenge.
Yeah, I'm excited for mine as well. So,
well, I have a quote to finish off today, and it's a very big quote, and I'll grab my laptop really quickly.
Yep, go for it. Let's see what you've got. Is it that big a quote?
Oh, it's pretty big, honestly.
A massive paragraph.
Well, no, I have paragraphs for other things. So this one, if the map and terrain disagree, follow the terrain. That's not the quote, but that's the title of the quote. Okay. Training isn't just about what's written on the page. It's what survives after passing through your filters. Genetics, beliefs, mental stress, emotional state, and recovery all shape the result. The same session hits differently depending on your context. That's the hidden variable. All right. Now, what I have written below, if that sounds a little bit confusing, is that, and this is just to elaborate on it, is that training isn't just about following the plan perfectly. How a workout affects you depends on more than the numbers. Your body, your mindset, your stress, and how well you've recovered all change the result. The same session can feel easy one day and brutal the next. That's the hidden factor behind how training actually works.
That's a pretty cool way to finish
So
off.
understanding that there are ups and lows, and that's all part of the process.
That's awesome. What a cool way to finish the podcast.
Yeah, well, I wish I could have memorized that, but
oh no, okay. You did pretty cool, man. All right, awesome. Well, till next week. If everyone
have a great week of running. We keep forgetting to mention that.
Yeah, have an awesome week of running, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome.